Welcome in, pull up a chair, and pour up a drink because you might need it after this, and let's have a little chat.
You're not in trouble.
At first, I was on the fence about making this video as I wasn't sure that I could add anything new to the discussion, so this has been sitting in my pipeline for about 3 weeks now. Then, a few days back, I was speaking to a gamer friend of mine who also has children, and he hadn't heard of the whole Roblox and Schlep controversy. Okay, quick disclaimer before we get started though. I am a talking head on a screen, all right? So, while I do my best to be as accurate as I can with the tools that I have available to me, please take this as entertainment value and not as gospel. Also, don't go harassing people because it's just weird. Don't be weird, okay? All the links to everything that I cite will be in the description below, plus a bunch of other articles that I found that I feel like could be useful for parents to read that I didn't really get a chance to talk about in this video because I did try to keep this video under 20 minutes. I really didn't want to go over and have a long video. Side note, these deep dive videos take a ton of mental energy to produce, so if you have a favorite YouTuber who does this on the regular, make sure you give them their flowers, because this video almost didn't make it. Alright, so I am familiar with Roblox, but admittedly, not as familiar as I should be, given the fact that I am the proud owner of 3 24-karat gold Labubus. Yep. As someone old enough to remember being in AOL chat rooms, doing and saying shit that I had no business doing or saying at my little age, Roblox has always felt just a little sus to me, and as such, I always had rules implemented for my kids that were kind of, old standard 90s rules. For instance, they played in the living room on consoles and largely during the specific times of the day. So they didn't really have free access to Roblox to just do whatever they wanted whenever they wanted. I was pretty lucky. My kids really preferred to play with each other, and they stuck to games like Tower Defense and Dress to Impress. Due to this, I hadn't heard of the games that were like the weird public bathroom games where predators build and use these games to lure children. Because I myself don't play Roblox and I don't watch and follow Roblox content creators, the algorithms were not pushing content to me that featured creators who are pointing out the massive amount of problems that have been in the Roblox community pretty much since its inception. I had no idea how bad things were until the whole Schlep incident happened and he was sent that cease and desist letter by Roblox and he was banned off of the platform. Once I did some digging, and I mean some very surface level digging, I'm not a PI. I literally just did a Google search and found all this stuff. But once I did find all this stuff, my flabbers were gasted, okay? Because it is way worse than just finding the few people here and there that, have been found on Roblox so far. And it sucks because there's a lot of kids who play this game, a lot, like a crazy amount. I'm going to put the number here because I done forgot it, so I'll just add it in after editing. But the amount of kids worldwide that play this game is an insane amount of kids, and their parents don't know what's going on because the algorithms decide what shows up in our feeds. And if we're not interested in it, the algorithms aren't going to show us things that are happening, in Roblox. And if they do see a little bit of content on the whole Roblox situation right now, it's probably Bazooki or David who are seriously downplaying what's going on within the community.
It is, as you mentioned, an industry-wide issue.
Right.
It's why we focus so much on keeping everyone on Roblox where they can share images,
Right.
or where all text is filtered, as opposed to maybe other platforms where some.
If you don't already know, Schlep is a YouTuber who would pose as a child on Roblox in order to lure and catch predators. Within the last year, he and his team claimed that they have been responsible for getting 6 predators arrested. But wait, that sounds like a good thing. So why did Roblox ban him? Well, the short answer is because they're f***ing idiots. Ultimately, I can kind of speculate why they felt that they had the right to take this action and why they decided to take this road, but I will address that at the end. On August 13th, Matt Kaufman, who is Roblox's chief safety officer, published an article to their website titled "More on Our Removal of Vigilantes from Roblox," with the subtitle reading, "Vigilante Behavior Creates an Unsafe Environment for Users." Now, if I didn't know any better, and if I were just a parent unaware of what was going on and I read that statement, I would think it is the YouTubers that are the problem, correct? They're the ones creating all of this mess and all of this drama, and they're the ones putting children in danger. And while obviously not every single YouTuber is a good person, of course, there's going to be people who are YouTubers who are very bad people, and we've seen plenty of that happen before. In this case, it seems like Schlep is a person who genuinely wants to help create a better and safer community for children. Because I don't want to make this an hour-long video, I'm not gonna read it verbatim. Instead, I'm just gonna put some shots up here from the website for you to pause and read if you'd like. If you are visually impaired, I do have the link to Roblox's website with Matt Kaufman's statement in the description below, and you can use your devices to help you read in that way. Now, if you've watched any of Schlepp's videos since the debacle began, you know that they did try to flip the script and really try to pin this on him as if he's the problem. But reading it with my own eyes just made it somehow seem even worse. It just felt gross, honestly. Now, in this day and age of 2025, I expect big business to always act like big business and protect its bottom line over doing the right thing. But this choice was baffling to me, because why would you make an enemy out of an internet hero? Even if you felt like you were in the right for such an asinine take, why not try to work with him instead? And I thought, well, maybe that's a dumb way to think about it. Maybe I'm not seeing all the sides. Maybe I don't understand something, until I heard Chris Hansen echo a similar sentiment. There was one paragraph in that word salad that Kaufman posted that, if you were cold enough to think and behave like a business, I suppose it could make a little bit of sense, but honestly, we're people, we're not business entities, so, it was cold. But I will read this part off to you. Due to privacy considerations, we cannot inform users whether their reports have led to consequences. We want to protect the privacy of our users even as we work to help keep them safe. We also work with law enforcement following official legal guidelines around when it's appropriate to collaborate with them and provide information to help them track bad actors across platforms to help keep users safe even beyond Roblox. In 2024, we submitted 24,522 reports, which is 0.12% of the 20.3 million total reports submitted across the industry, to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the NCMEC. As part of our strong relationship with the NCMEC, we regularly meet to understand how we can provide the most helpful information to law enforcement about these bad actors. When users observe inappropriate behavior, we ask that they report it immediately through one of our standard reporting channels. On multiple occasions, we found vigilante groups holding their reports to Roblox until after they had coordinated real-life meetups and built their social media posts. Waiting to report to Roblox or the relevant authorities means alleged bad actors could potentially remain on the platform longer, leaving the community open to additional risk of harm. Okay, so that sounds like a decent reason to hate these so-called YouTuber vigilantes, right? They're withholding information and they're slowing down the process. Okay, I can maybe buy it. There's just one little problem with their line of reasoning. Well, more than one. But the most important one comes to me from this Bloomberg article that was published back in July of 2024. Yet a number of people who worked for Kaufman say that Roblox is on its back foot in its battle against predators. In interviews with more than 20 current and former employees, including moderators, engineers, and safety managers, all of whom requested anonymity because of confidentiality agreements or fear of retribution from the company, Business Week repeatedly heard that while child safety might be the company's watchword, policing the platform and its 13 million games is a Sisyphean task. One moderator says her team receives hundreds of escalated reports involving child safety every day, far too many for her team to clear. Policing will only get harder as the company strives to reach the co-founder and chief executive officer Dave Baszucki's goal of 1 billion daily users, more than 10 times the number today. 8 current and former trust and safety workers say user growth at Roblox takes priority over child safety. They describe the calls for more resources going unanswered, resulting in a backlog of incident reports and the departure of one manager who left after promises for extra staff went unfulfilled. So, the problem with Matt Kaufman's line of reasoning that YouTubers are the one who are holding up the process of justice, essentially, is flawed because Roblox themselves is not set up to help deliver justice for these poor children who are being preyed on. Roblox isn't set up to moderate the amount of games and the amount of users that it has. It doesn't have the people and it doesn't have the resources. And yes, you could say this article is from over a year ago, but let's be real. When have we known mega corporations to actually do the right thing? If that article came out Which do you think is the most reasonable thing that they would have done? Would they have immediately read the article, fixed the problem, and hired more staff and spent more money and more resources on moderation? Or would they have just, you know what they do? Ah, everything's fine. Look at what we've done. Here's the statistics of things that we have turned into the NCMEC. Like, okay, yeah, sure. We can always make things sound good. That doesn't mean that they are good, right? I can't imagine what it would feel like to be one of the people on the safety team and know that the thing that's keeping you from doing your job adequately isn't the predators themselves or technology not being able to keep up with the predators, but rather it's your corporate overlords. And honestly, that's something that like we can all relate to in daily life in this day and age. We've we've all been there. All right, so let's go back to another statement that Kaufman made on the vigilantes. Waiting to report to Roblox or the relevant authorities means alleged bad actors could potentially remain on the platform for longer, leaving the community open to additional risk of harm. This story is important because if we go back to the Bloomberg Businessweek report, we're going to learn about the story of Doc, a real piece of shit who operated with impunity for years, despite several complaints submitted to Roblox. In this story, we are introduced to Simon, another vigilante YouTuber, who had been messaged by several gamers requesting that he look into Doc as their attempts to report him to Roblox had failed. In September of 2020, Simon started receiving messages from the gamers who were seeking to bring Doc down. The screenshots they sent were of conversations Doc had had with young girls who worked for him, including ones detailing fantasies about kidnapping and a 12-year-old. After Simon reposted the messages on Twitter, vigilantes flooded Doc's account, calling him a Doc responded with a YouTube video defending himself. In his usual style, off screen, with his voice electronically altered, he admitted the messages were real but said they were just jokes. Simon packaged the allegations and the admission into a 7-minute video and sent it to an employee on Roblox's developer relations team. He asked the company to shutter the Dr. Rofatnik account and Sonic Eclipse itself. A number of other users say that they also alerted Roblox about Doc's account, and so did the mother of the preteen he'd sent the messages to. 4 days after being notified by Simon, Roblox closed Doc's account and reported it to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. In the meantime, Doc had transferred ownership of the game to his friend and created a new account. One gamer recalls him quoting Eminem after his return. Guess who's back? Back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend. Doc shared a screenshot on his Twitter that October after his ban, showing a $15,097.35 payment from Roblox and scoffed at Simon. Thanks for driving more money to my game, man. Geez, you guys are really f***ing stupid giving me all this publicity. Roblox says it continued to search for and ban any alternate accounts, but left Sonic Eclipse running because the game itself didn't pose any safety concerns. It also says that Dr. Rofatnik cashed out a total of $41,000 in developer fees for the first 8 months of 2020, but that it has no record of a payment to anyone for $15,097.35 that year. Simon sent a message to Roblox railing against what he viewed as its weak response. Roblox's bottom line depends on parents trusting the company with their kids' safety, and that's not going to happen if this is the response to child predators, he wrote. He says he didn't get a reply. He tried reporting Doc to the Tucson police, but all he could offer was an online alias. So, people have done and presumably are still doing things Roblox's way, and what did they get for it? Nothing. The Sonic Eclipse game was still going and bringing in revenue, and at that time, Doc was still anonymous and living free while getting in money. You know what it took to shut that game down? An anonymous Japanese gamer wrote to Sega explaining the situation and tweeted at their press relations that a pedophile was running a knockoff Sonic game on Roblox. Sega finally slapped Roblox with a copyright infringement suit, and that's how the game was shut down. And that was after Roblox sued Simon for $1.6 million in order to shut him up, which was later settled. I highly encourage you to read the full article if you can, if you have the time, because there's so many more details in this article and in the other articles as well that I don't have the time to accurately explain in this video. And honestly, it's downright disturbing, and this is just one story. Doc turned out to be a man named Arnold Castillo, who was sentenced to 15 years in prison in 2023 after he kidnapped and held hostage a 15-year-old girl that he met online. I'm not going to say that Roblox was responsible for protecting a predator, but I will say that They gave him a lot of years to do and say as he pleased, and it took the combined efforts of a YouTuber, several gamers, and Sega in order to get him and his game shut down. Is it any wonder that he felt like he could do this with, out having any negative repercussions when he was able to get away with saying and doing some really horrible shit for a long time? If you think that the Bloomberg article is the worst of it, here's several civil suits being brought forth by parents right now, and it just seems like there's another one pouring in like every other day. The game being a hunting ground for predators isn't the only problem that Roblox has had with child safety as well. They've also been in the hot seat for their views on child labor practices. A large portion of their games are programmed and developed by children. The developers can earn Robux, which is in-game currency, and while it can be cashed out for cold hard cash, Roblox takes a pretty hefty percentage from that. This article from The Guardian was published January 29th of 2022 and details the story of two children who were developers on two very popular Roblox games. I'm only going to touch on one, but there is a story of another girl in this article that I do think that you should read that, kind of highlights the problems of what happens when only one person is receiving the payout, which is the owner of the game, but you've got a bunch of children working underneath that person who's responsible for divvying up these payouts. So let's go to Reagan Green, who was 16 at the time that the article was published, detailing how he worked tirelessly on Sonic Eclipse Online under one Dr. Rofatnik, which we already know about that bastard. It details his stress and the pressure that he was under to improve the game or be replaced. Green is quoted as saying, "The pressure caused me to break." Jaden, or Dr. Rofatnik, who we now know to be Arnold Castillo, would be arrested roughly 4 months after this article was published. But he's quoted in the article as saying, "We have no such thing as hours because we are not professionals." Pressure aside, there was nobody at Roblox that these child devs could reach out to for help or protection in these situations. Side note, just a trigger warning, the Guardian article details more on the highly sexually charged nature of the jokes that were present in the Sonic Eclipse Online Discord server. Now, this video focuses a lot of heat on Roblox, but I want you to know Discord's not any better. Please keep your kids off of it, okay? Like, you don't know what they're doing on there. You don't know who they're talking to. People can hide behind avatars. Their names aren't their names. It's not a safe place. Now, I'm not going to tell you, how to raise your kids. Like, if you are okay with your kids being on Discord and you feel like you monitor them enough or that you've had good enough talks with them, but you don't have to take the risk if you don't need to. So honestly, if you are someone who is watching this video and kind of you made it to this point, you ain't got kids, but you know people who have kids, or maybe you have kids in your life that you love, share this video with the parents. If they don't even have to watch it, just tell them to go to the description, find the links to everything that I've read, and just share that with them. Because I feel like parents need to know what it is that these companies are doing that are putting their children in harm's way. Okay, but back to the story. Seriously, the Discord server for the Sonic Eclipse Online, they were regularly calling and trigger warning for this, they were regularly calling a 12-year-old girl Jaden's underage sex doll and making jokes about her. Now, if you're a Roblox exec, you might call the fact that children and teens can earn money by developing games a gift. But with little in the way to stop them from being exploited by game creators who control payouts, it's definitely one with serious caveats. Even if you end up developing a game with people who aren't total creeps, the payout from Roblox goes to the person who owns the game. And how they split up the profits is up to their discretion. If the people under them have issues regarding payouts, they don't have anyone to take their complaints to. It's all of the problems of a real job without any of the safeguards that come from regulations. Now, you could make it this far in the video, and you could probably think to yourself, well, this isn't a Roblox problem, this is a parenting problem. Maybe you could make it this far. Whatever, that's neither here nor there. As a millennial, I grew up in a time period where I was online with strangers talking about ASL. But at the end of the day, Roblox knew and has known for a while now that it has some serious child safety issues. And instead of facing the problem head on and trying new ways to fix things, they chose to stick their heads in the sand and then silence the people who were actually trying to do something about it. Child gamers have had to take things into their own hands, doing things like creating Google Docs amassed with evidence about harassment, only to be told that they can't turn it in, that it has to be up to a parent to turn it in for them. And then when the complaint gets filed, it gets shuffled into a massive backlog of other complaints that also haven't been addressed. And even though their bottom line isn't too badly affected at the moment, I think the people at Roblox know that Bazooki and Kaufman really stepped in it with this Schlep situation. In that CNBC interview with Roblox's CEO, he stated that he's been trying to work with Schlep to see where they could strengthen their safety protections. Schlepp's response to that boiled down to, "They sidestepped communicating with my counsel." Now, there's more on that. There's a bunch of creators who have made response videos to the CNBC interview. So if you want more context, I would just type it into YouTube and find their breakdowns. But it is very shady that Kaufman would try to go around Schlepp's representation to speak to him directly when they've previously slapped him with cease and desist and threaten lawsuits. Everything about that seems like they want to be seen as if they're working with people, but they're not actually willing to do the work to work with people. We are entering a period of time where the general public at large is just really tired of big business pissing on us and not even having the decency to call it rain anymore. They step on our necks and they tell us to pay up and comply or else. And I feel like this Roblox situation really encompasses all of that. It's the demand and the entitlement that we allow our children to be placed in danger and they don't have to face repercussions for the fact that they're doing so. In fact, it's like they demand that we just forgive and forget and move on. They use child labor to create and code games with minimal protections, and then they allow the platform to foment hate with hate groups actually building games to emulate how they want to plan out their terrorist attacks. I'm someone who will sometimes play devil's advocate because I do genuinely want to know what goes on in someone's mind that led them to the decision that they ended up reaching. But it's not really hard to understand how Bazooki and Kaufman reached the decision that they did. And at the end of the day, that decision is just greed, flat out greed. But the thing is that we don't owe them our precious time. We don't owe them our hard-earned dollars. We can make the choice on whether or not we are going to log in and give not just Roblox, but any of these larger companies the time of day if they're not going to give us the decency of treating us right and protecting us. That's all for today. Thank you so much for sticking around and finishing the video. If you've made it this far, remember links are in the description below. Share this with someone who has kids who plays Roblox who might not have an idea of what's going on. I encourage you to read all of the articles and make an informed decision for yourself. Again, I'm just a talking head on a screen. I cannot tell you how to live your life. So make good choices. Be safe out there. Have a good week, y'all.